Okay, so what we're now going to do is to look at fixed and variable costs separately. So if we take fixed costs, as we just said, fixed costs, are costs, that, they do not rise in total as output rises. As I said a minute ago, they can change, they just don't change as you make more units, So that's, if we want to represent that graphically, then that's going to be very simple. Important thing to note now, if you watched the videos on product curves earlier, it's really important, to understand that the axes that we're using now have changed. In the product curve diagrams, we had labour workers down here, and we had output up here. Now, the point about that was a means to an end. What we're now doing is we're putting output down here. So this is the number of units, the number of marker pens that the firm makes, and this is now going to be money. So up here, we're now back to kind of a bit like the way we did with supply and demand, where the vertical axis is something monetary, and the horizontal axis is the quantity of something. In this case, the number of marker pens or whatever. So if fixed costs don't rise in total as output rises, then if you have a rent of £8,000 a year or a month or whatever, it doesn't matter. Then what that's going to mean is let's put it there. Regardless of your output, your cost, that's not very horizontal, is it? Your cost remains the same. So that is your total fixed cost. It's £8,000 regardless of whether you make 1 pen, 2 pens, 4 pens or whatever. It really doesn't matter. So that's my total fixed cost. Now it's possible that I have to expand. If I need to rent another factory, then all of a sudden, my fixed cost will double to 16,000 or something once I get past a certain output level. But we're not really interested in that at this stage. So what sort of businesses have a lot of fixed costs? So these businesses where if you have an extra customer, an extra whatever, you don't end up paying more in total as a business. So classic examples, they tend to be service-based sectors. Things like airlines. If another passenger gets onto your plane, what's that going to do? What's that going to do to your cost? Nothing. You've already paid for all the meals. The weight of that person compared with the weight of the plane is nothing. It's not like you're going to burn any more fuel. Really, for an airline, your costs are basically fixed. It's going to cost you £8,000 to fly to Beijing, whether the plane's full or empty, pretty much. Or gyms. If you take a gym, then they've got their equipment, they've got their instructors. Whether you turn up for the class or not probably doesn't affect their costs. Whether you turn up and use the running machine doesn't affect their costs. Or cinemas. Again, the film's going to show whether there's one person in the cinema or 100. Again, it doesn't really affect their costs. So what that means is that those sorts of businesses, if you think about what matters to them, what matters, particularly if you're an airline, is flying full. And the reason is, if that plane is full, the cost per passenger it's £8,000, but if you've got more passengers, the cost per passenger, the cost of flying an average passenger, is much lower. If you have one passenger, the cost per passenger is £8,000. If you have 2 passengers, well, all of a sudden, the cost per passenger is now £4,000 each. Effectively to you, if you have 4 passengers, the cost is £2,000 per passenger. And this is important when you're thinking about setting your prices. If you have 1 passenger, your price is going to have to be £8,000 at least. If you have 4 passengers, you can get away with charging a price of £2,000. If you had 8 passengers, 8,000 divided. What you can see what we're doing here, is we're taking our total fixed cost and we're dividing by the quantity, the number of passengers. So this is £8,000 over 8. Is 1,000. If I had 16, it would be £500. So the more passengers you have, what we can see is that the cost, this line here, it's the cost per passenger, but that has a name. It's just called the average fixed cost. Yeah, it's worked out by taking the total fixed cost and dividing by output, but it's a useful function because we can see why it is, yeah, that airlines will behave in the way that they do. If you think about what matters to the airline is having as many passengers on that plane as possible. And as a result, over the last 30, 40, 50 years, the amount of legroom that you get on a plane, in spite of the fact that people are getting bigger, legroom has gone down because if legroom, the amount of space for your legs has gone down because the more passengers they can fit onto that plane, obviously the more revenue they've got, but also the more they've spread those fixed costs. That's why airlines routinely overbook. Yeah, so they will, for scheduled flights, they'll sell more tickets than they have seats. Yeah, because they know that some people won't turn up. Then they can fly full, and again, we've spread those costs. So there are two costs here. There's your overall total fixed cost. That doesn't vary according to output. But obviously, if you have more units, then you can spread that fixed cost over a number of passengers, a number of units, a number of kind of products. And that's going to be important when you're thinking about setting your price. Just as a last example, in case you're still not clear, imagine you hired me to give a revision seminar or something, and you hire a hall that has capacity of 200 people, and you agree to give me 200 quid. So you're going to pay me £200. What price should you charge to your mates? It depends on how many of them you think are going to come. You don't want to make a loss. If you think you're only going to get 10 of your friends, then each one of them, my cost is 200 quid, divided by 10, you're going to have to charge a ticket price of 20 quid. But if you can fill that thing, if you can fill that, or better still stream it online, then it's 200 quid, you're paying me, 200 people sitting in the hall, you'd be able to reduce the ticket price, the price that you're charging, you'd be able to reduce that to 1 quid because your average, £1.50, we want to make a profit. Because your average fixed cost, your fixed pot cost per customer is down now to £1 because it's £200 divided by 200 customers. So that's average fixed cost. So both total and average fixed cost are something that as a business you'd want to know.